Welcome into the Strike Zone here on 104.5 The Zone's Zone TV. I'm Joe Hunk with you every single Thursday at 7 o'clock here from First Horizon Park. Now we look at everything kind of behind us, looks similar but different. I'll explain why here in just a little bit. But first, make sure that you follow us on Twitter at 104.5 The Zone, at Joe Hunk. Doesn't matter if it's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, or that other thing that everybody is getting on right now, that you can possibly follow us there as well. But the reason why tonight you see me in the setup that I am a lot of times whenever the Sounds are on the road is because First Horizon Park is packed tonight. Sounds are back in town hosting the Columbus Clippers, the Cleveland Guardians, almost said Indians, the Cleveland Guardians affiliate, AAA affiliate. And everywhere that we normally broadcast from for the Strike Zone is filled up with people, whether it's the paddocks right here on the edges of where the suites are, whether it's the Pepsi Pavilion, the Home Run Pavilion. The bandbox right now is slammed with people because of all the great drink specials that are going on. Heck, the Hit City Hall is packed as well tonight. So I've talked about it so many times, not only on the Strike Zone, but also on 3HL, about Thursday nights here at First Horizon Park and how many people are coming out to watch the Nashville Sounds because school is out. There's a lot of things you could be doing, but you can come out to the ballpark and you can watch the Nashville Sounds play. That's the reason why tonight we're in the suite, because this is truthfully the only place, the only spot, the only room, the only area that isn't filled up with people right now. So the game is happening directly in front of me, and I've got the Nashville Americans directly behind me here in the suite as we go at it tonight. But what's cool about this is this means that, look, as much as people want to talk about Major League Baseball and moving to Nashville and the things that could come if that were to happen, this also shows how much the city loves the Nashville Sounds, and it is so awesome to see that many people here tonight. But make sure that you're here all weekend long, because the Nashville Sounds, this is the last night that they will be known as that, at least for the next 3 games, because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Nashville Sounds are becoming the Nashville Hot Chicken. And so you can come in, and if you go down to the pro shop, they've got jerseys that you can buy. They have hats. They have merch. They have all this other stuff for the Nashville Hot Chickens. There's going to be giveaways that they're going to be doing throughout the next 3 nights that you can be here for the Nashville Hot Chickens. Logo totally different. Colors totally different. It looks really cool. The jersey looks pretty fun. So come down. If you're a jersey guy like I am, go down to the pro shop, grab you a jersey, and rep the Nashville Hot Chickens, because that's what the Sounds are going to be for the next 3 nights against the Guardians. But also, the next 3 nights are the last 3 nights of the first half for Major League Baseball, and we're starting to get to the All-Star game, which the Atlanta Braves are sending 8 representatives, at least on the field, to Seattle. Now, the 8 Atlanta Braves are the most that the Atlanta Braves have ever sent to the All-Star game. It's not exactly a record, but it probably should be, because it's the most that the National League, or the most a team in the National League has sent since 2008 with the Chicago Cubs team. It's the most that a Major League team through all of baseball has sent since 2012 in the Texas Rangers. The record, if there are things that you ever want to say could potentially have an asterisk beside them, the amount of representatives sent to an all-star game record probably should be one of them. Because the actual record itself was set in 1959 by the New York Yankees. Yes, those New York Yankees. I'm going to pause for just a second. I see a bunch of people that have already hopped in on the chat, and I appreciate that. Start getting those comments in as we start going throughout the show tonight. And we appreciate all of that. And yes, the Yankee hate is going to be something that I know that we're about to see in the chat. So that's why I paused, because I could already visualize all the different words about the New York Yankees that could be coming through the chat. But 1959, the New York Yankees sent 9 players to the All-Star games. You notice there was an S at the end of that for All-Star games. There wasn't just one game in 1959. There were actually 2. And the All-Star games were this way for about 4 seasons because of the collective bargaining agreement that the players had with Major League Baseball in 1959. In 1959, think about history in 1959. $50,000 in 1959 is going to get you a lot of things. But Major League Baseball wasn't paying their players the way that they do in 2023, so nobody had a $500 million contract. And so instead, Major League Baseball and the MLBPA agreed that they were going to do 2 All-Star games, 2 different cities. They were going to do one All-Star game, the traditional All-Star game, and then they would do a second one a couple of weeks later in a totally different city. And the money that went into the game, or the money that was paid that came from attendance and everything else that was involved with the game, would actually go towards the MLBPA pension plan. So that's the way that some players were kind of planning for retirement. This lasted for about 4 years. And then Major League Baseball said, okay, let's go back to the traditional format of just 4 or just one game after the 4 years because, one All-Star game is awesome. You don't really kind of need 2. So that's the reason why the Yankees sent 9, because there were players that were available for the first game, but they weren't available for the second game. So with the second game, you had replacement players that came in, just like if ever there's a pitcher that may pitch on Saturday or Sunday and they're not going to be available to pitch in the All-Star game, Major League Baseball and the NL team or the AL team will choose a replacement player and a replacement pitcher or anything like that. Like Shohei Ohtani's not going to pitch in the All-Star game. He may hit, but he's not going to pitch. Mike Trout, already out of the All-Star game. He's out 4 to 6 weeks right now because of his injury. They're going to find replacement players. So when the Yankees sent 9, they sent so many to the first game, and then there were some players that weren't available, and they sent different ones to the second game, which is the reason why they came up with 9. Now, there were some players in this that were all-stars for Major League Baseball and all-stars for the Yankees. Those players are household names, especially if you are a baseball fan, no matter if you like or hate the Yankees, which, yes, I do see in the chat how much Yankee hate is coming in. And it's okay because I feel you on that on many different levels. But 1959, you had Mickey Mantle as an all-star. It was like his 3rd or 4th. Actually, it may have even been more than that. I think it may have been like his 8th season in the major leagues. And he was an all-star. Whitey Ford was an all-star. Yogi Berra was an all-star for the Yankees. The other guys I have literally never heard of in my life. Tony Quebec, no clue who that guy is. Never heard of him before, never heard of him since, no clue what happened. Bobby Richardson, yeah, I'm sure there's a Bobby Richardson out there that is doing some great things, but I have no clue what this Bobby Richardson did for the New York Yankees in 1959. Ryan Duran, no clue. No clue at all. In fact, what's crazy is you can pick any all-star game, and I promise you, somewhere in the starting 9, there are players that you have totally forgotten about through your life in history. Let's just randomly pick one. Like, we'll go 2002. Okay, just randomly pick the 2002 All-Star game because that's one of the most infamous All-Star games in history, because that was the All-Star game in Milwaukee that ended in a tie, which led to It Just Means More, which is the 2003 All-Star game, which is going to come up here in just a few seconds. But if you look at the starting lineups for the American League, here's one right here, National League, Jose Vidro. Diehards would know who he is. Maybe. He was playing for the Houston Expos in 2002. Houston Expos. Who is that? He's playing for the Montreal Expos, not the Houston Astros. Jose Vidro. He was an Expo. It was his second All-Star game. Like, he was a multi-time All-Star. Now, with the AL, probably the most random name, at least in the starting 9, would be Shea Hillenbrand. And you've at least heard the name once or twice, but you don't really know much about their all-star prowess as it is. Now, as far as reserve players, there are so many reserves that you have never heard of in your life. Damian Miller. Maybe you've heard of Richie Sexson. Maybe. Junior Spivey, you may have only heard because he has a really cool name. And then there were guys that were making their very first All-Star game that would become legendary names, like Adam Dunn. You know of Luis Castillo. Jose Hernandez has a history, at least, of being great. You'll know more about him in the future as well. Sean Green was making his second All-Star game. Andrew Jones was making his second All-Star game. And then you look at the reserves for 2003. Robert Fick. That is a deep cut. Robert Fick. I remember the name, and the only reason I remember him is because I believe there was a period of time where Robert Fick actually played for the Atlanta Braves. I think that's the only reason I've ever heard of this guy. Yep, 2003, he eventually played for the Atlanta Braves in the very next season. So see, that's the only reason I've ever heard of Robert Fick. But that's what the All-Star Game is about. It's a bunch of random guys that had an amazing first half of the season, but it's the second half of the season is your moneymaker. Being invited to the All-Star Game is amazing, but it's also tiring, especially if you do the home run derby and you're a part of all the celebration that's going on. You play in the game. Now the All-Star Game, you play more than 2 or 3 innings. You're playing like 4 and 5 and 6 innings sometimes. And then you have a few days off before you hit the road and go back to wherever your team is going to be playing to start the second half. So the first half is great, but there's a lot of guys that were on these All-Star teams that we know for the second half. Now the 8 for the Atlanta Braves, that is a team record. The original record was 2003 as well as 1997. That's when the Atlanta Braves sent 7 players to the All-Star Game. 2003, Braves sent Javi Lopez, Gary Sheffield, John Smoltz, Marcus Giles, and you also had Andrew Jones that went there. The one name that's unique about this All-Star Game that the Braves sent 7 to, Russ Ortiz. Because a lot of Atlanta Braves totally forgot about Russ Ortiz ever being a starting pitcher for them. But Russ Ortiz was there. Now, the 97 All-Star Game, obviously, was after the 96 World Series run, so you know a lot more of these names. And this was also the first year in Turner Field. Thank God that stadium is gone, at least for baseball. Kenny Lofton, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, Denny Nagel, Javi Lopez, Chipper Jones, and yes, even Jeff Blauser went to the All-Star Game in 1997 representing the Atlanta Braves. But the new record is 8 for the Braves. Then we get into the records themselves, because in 2023, there are a bunch of records that the Atlanta Braves could potentially be breaking. Now, if you really want to get down into like your sabermetrics numbers, okay, we could do that. We could talk about number of walks and players with WAR that's, above that, all of that stuff. Okay. But let's just keep it simple, because there's a few Braves right now that are on pace to break some legendary numbers for the team. Now, the first one that you're going to hear about is going to be one that I think that a lot of Braves fans actually forget that it is the record, because some Braves fans, especially if you were watching the Bally Sports game a few nights ago, Jeff Francoeur was talking about this and talking about a player that he remembers watching just being on one of those roles. And he would watch him play and couldn't believe he was doing the things he was doing. And Francoeur was actually talking about Andrew Jones in 2005, because Andrew in 2005 had 51 home runs, which is the Atlanta Braves single season record by a player. Now, the record for a team is 249 home runs, which the Braves actually set like 2 seasons ago. And that record they had actually set 2 seasons prior. So it's not as old. But the 2005 mark, Andrew Jones is at 51 home runs. At the moment, which Braves are not playing tonight, there's 76 games left in the regular season, including this 3-game series that's about to come up with Tampa that the Braves are about to play. At the moment, Matt Olson is 23 home runs away from breaking that record. Very doable if he could stay healthy. Because I want to take you back. Let's see, 2022, last season, as a matter of fact. Oh, we all remember. Was Freddie Freeman going to stay? Was Freddie Freeman going to go? Did his agent tell him? Did his agent not tell him? Was he lying to him? Was he not lying to him? Was Freddie Freeman supposed to be an Atlanta Brave? Oh, my goodness. But wait, we have Matt Olson, but he's not Freddie. Oh, we want to like you. You're local, but you're just not Freddie. I think Matt Olson's kind of proven himself, isn't he? I mean, he really has. Remember, there was a period where we just like, God, you're not Freddie. And now, like, as much as you want to be mad at Alex Anthopoulos for this, but the man made a great decision. He has. And it probably helps that every single time he comes up to bat, Ronald Acuna Jr. is somewhere on the base paths. Or Acuna's already started the game off with a home run, and then Matt Olson does the exact same thing a couple of innings or a couple of batters later where he hits a home run. That happened against the Marlins a few nights ago. They started the game off and they scored 6 runs. In fact, Acuna came up and I believe there was only 1 out. And when he came up for the second time. I think Matt Olson has proven, okay, you can like him. A few weeks ago, we started talking about on 3HL the players that we don't think about that had great seasons after being signed as a free agent. Because with the Braves, or I should say with the Titans, we think about the bad signings, your Julios and all this sort of stuff for them. Jadeveon Clowney, those types of players. But Matt Olson, the Braves trading for him and giving him that long-term deal that they were going to give Freddie, it's worked out. And it's continuing to work out. And now the man is 23 home runs away from bringing the Atlanta Braves all-time home run leader. That's with 76 games to go. That record could absolutely go down. No, I haven't put Acuna in there as far as how many he needs to hit. He needs 31 because right now he's at 21 home runs. I think a lot of Braves fans, even though they're looking at the 40-40 record, the 40-40 club that he could potentially get into, yes, that's absolutely there, especially now that he's already got 44 stolen bases. Now he just needs the home runs. So the idea that he's going to join this club and he's at least going to get to the 40-40 club, that's what Braves fans are focused on. He could pass Andrew Jones as well because that man is terrifying when he steps into the batter's box for the very first at bat. Look, if you are a Braves fan, do not be like the Dodgers. Do not be like the Miami Heat. Do not be like the Miami Marlins. They haven't been to a game period just to see any of this because they totally forget the team's there. Do not be like the Dodger fans. Do not be like Miami Heat fans. Do not be like Wisconsin Badger students. If you don't know, just look it up. And wait to get to the ballpark. The Atlanta Braves are outscoring the entire major leagues in runs in the first inning. The Braves have scored more runs in the first inning than what the rest of baseball has together. That's a lot. Do not wait to get to the plate, or I should say get to the stadium. Do not wait to get into your seat. Make sure that you get there early. Not just because you get to enjoy the cool things of just walking around the ballpark and relaxing before the stadium opens, or, eating at a restaurant outside the Battery, or like if you're here going to Neighbors, or when the stadium opens, coming in here and grabbing you some food and chilling out and doing honestly one of my favorite things in baseball to do, and that is to watch the ground crew get the stadium ready and get the grass ready and to chalk the infield and to drag the infield. I don't know why. I just love doing it. It's soothing. So I love watching that. That's not the reason. The reason is because in the first inning, the Atlanta Braves love scoring runs. And they do it all the time. And a lot of time it starts with an Acuna home run that goes 400 feet down the left field line. Like a laser beam. So I know that we're focused on the home runs. The stolen bases record, Acuna has an opportunity at getting to. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, he's already got 44 stolen bases through 86 games, so now he's got 76 games to try to get the rest. I should say, let me back that up. I actually said that wrong. Acuna at the moment actually has 42 stolen bases. He has 41 stolen bases. That's what it is. He has 41 stolen bases. He needs 44 more stolen bases to break the Braves' all-time record of 84 stolen bases in a season. 76 games, doable, potentially very doable, but this is not just a record that's only been around for 18 years the way that the 2005 Andrew Jones 51 home runs are. The record, I'm just going to do the math right here directly in front of you right now. Let's see here. It is 2023. And we are going to subtract the year that this record was done. And that means this record has stood in Atlanta Braves history for 136 years. And Acuna could break this record this season. 1887. 84 stolen bases by a gentleman by the name of King Kelly. That really wasn't old-time radio voice. It really wasn't. It was like, oh, this right now is King Kelly coming up to bat. He's going to be stealing a base from first going to second. That's more like it. That's what it is. King Kelly, 1887, stole 84 bases. And it wasn't even the Atlanta Braves or the Boston Braves or the Milwaukee Braves. This was for the Boston Bean Eaters. Yeah, that's a name. Let's see those jerseys on sometimes. How amazing do you think those things would be? It'd probably just be like a white wool shirt and white wool pants. That'd be it. It'd be hot, blazing hot. But those are two of the at least individual records that I know Braves fans are going to be paying attention to. But now you have the big one. The big one is the one that you probably haven't thought about for about a good, we'll say 20, 25 years. But unfortunately, one artist decided to make a song that we've all heard 50,000 times. And yes, the Atlanta Braves' all-time win record is held by the 1998 Atlanta Braves. I am sorry for putting that song in your head. I'm sorry. Because just looking at this last night, I haven't been able to get the song out of my head for the last 12 hours, 13 hours. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be like, oh, what time is it? And all I'd hear is Morgan Wallen's voice in my head singing 1998 Braves, or the 98 Braves song. Yes, the 1998 Braves, 106 wins. If you're a Braves fan over the age of 20, then you remember what happened. Atlanta Braves lost to San Diego Padres in the NLCS. Padres go on to get swept by the New York Yankees in 1998. Ken Caminiti was a part of that team. You did have Tony Gwynn, which was cool for him to see, but you had Greg Vaughn. You had a lot of Padres that decided to get a little bit bigger. So, yes, that 98 Braves team, if you are a Braves fan, is probably the one that you forget about the most until Morgan Wallen, because that season really just pisses you off. It just does. You had Andres Galarraga. I mean, the players that are on this team, you had three different Braves that had sub-3 ERAs. Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz all had sub-3 ERAs. Kerry Lightenberg was your closer that year. Remember those sideburns that he had? Oh, my God, those things were majestic. I mean, 1998, I was 15 years old. I so wanted to have those sideburns, but my girlfriend would not let me do it. She just wouldn't. Ryan Klesko, Andrew Jones. You had Javi Lopez. We mentioned Galarraga. Michael Tucker, the weird right fielder that the Atlanta Braves got whenever they traded Dave Justice to the Cleveland Indians. I mean, Kenny Lofton was already gone then. But you also had guys like Tony Graffinino, which I think was like the ultimate utility player for the Atlanta Braves back in the 90s. No matter what was happening, Tony Graffinino was playing somehow and was doing something for the Braves. He never could be a starter, but for some reason, that man was amazing in the utility role. Even Gerald Williams. Man, Gerald Williams. I remember going to a Braves game. I want to say it was in 99. And Gerald Williams hit the game-tying home run against the Cubs in like a May baseball game. The Braves eventually did lose that game, but I got to see a game-tying home run in the 9th inning by Gerald Williams, of all players. Like, those were the players that were on that 98 Braves team that won 106 games. Now, how many games, or what's the record that the Braves have to go in from here on out to break that record? They have to win 51 more games. They have to go 51-35 the remainder of the season to win and to break that record. Right now, they have 58 wins, 28 losses. So they don't have to be as good as they were in the first half. But if you're wanting to break records this year, which is what it looks like the Atlanta Braves offense is really wanting to do, especially some of these ones that are older, especially the Boston Bean Eaters, King Kelly coming up to bat. King Kelly's 1887 stolen bases record. Cunha can do that. I mean, heck, last night he stole a base and Indians didn't even try to throw him out. Just went ahead. I mean, you want to talk about grand larceny at its best. Ronald Acuna stealing that base was just tremendous. So those are the records. Those are the things that you're looking forward to. Those are the things that could potentially go down in 2023 for the Atlanta Braves. The problem with this is those teams that hold all these records for the Braves, no. That 98 Braves team, we know, lost in the NLCS. The team that is second and wins all time for the Atlanta Braves was 1993. If you're a Braves fan over the age of 30, Philadelphia Phillies beat you in the NLCS. Phillies go on to lose to the Toronto Blue Jays in one of the most historic plays to ever happen in Major League Baseball history. The 99 Braves won 103 games, yet they couldn't even win one in the World Series. Lost to 4 games to the Yankees. Heck, the Boston Beaneaters in 1898, they won 102 games and they didn't even make the World Series. 1892, Boston Beaneaters won 102 games and won the World Series. So there's been a lot of times that winning these games don't benefit you. If you're listening right now, this is the first time you've ever listened to the Strike Zone, I want you to go back and find our preview of the regionals before Tennessee and Vanderbilt were getting ready to go into regional play. Vanderbilt going through the SEC championship and winning that thing in Hoover doesn't benefit you. Sometimes winning this many games doesn't benefit you. Breaking that record may not benefit you. Just because Matt Olson is going to potentially hit 51 plus home runs in 2023 does not mean that he is going to be the bat that you can rely on in Game 5 of the World Series if the Braves get there. Those are the issues. Honestly, Game 5 of the World Series, Matt Olson's up and there's a base open, he's getting walked. Acuna, exact same thing. It's not going to be those guys that the Braves are going to need to step up in Game 5 of the World Series. Just not. Those are the guys that are eventually going to get you there, depending on what the guys around them can do. Because if there's a base open, Acuna's going to get walked. Matt Olson's going to get walked unless one of them are just in a slump that you just go, you know what, I'm going to take my chances. So these records are awesome. It'd be fun for the entire summer to watch the Braves because the Braves are must-watch television. They just are. Every single night you have to watch just to see what this team is going to do. And you've got to watch from the first pitch because Acuna will park one. That is what the Braves are potentially and could do in 2023. And now if you look at this team, especially once they go into that All-Star break, I mean, a lot of people want to complain about this, but Atlanta is going to go from playing in Tropicana Field, which we all know is a dumpster. It would not surprise me if Acuna or Matt Olson or some other Brave hits that back wall in Tropicana Field. Those are the types of bombs that you could be seeing this weekend for the Atlanta Braves against the Tampa Bay Rays. These are the top 2 teams in baseball. These 2 teams playing each other this weekend, this is what the All-Star game could be if they were somewhere that they needed to be. Pay attention. We will see you Monday. Actually, no, we'll see you tonight. No, what day? Tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow on 3HL, 3 o'clock. Don't forget it. This is the Strike Zone.